My phone captured everything while I was unconscious on Thanksgiving, including my aunt saying, "We're not calling 911. She can just lie there." I woke up in the hospital with no memory of anything after sitting down for dinner. My mom was there, smiling far too widely. "You fell down the stairs, honey. Too much wine." But I don't drink. I never have. The nurse adjusting my IV kept looking at me with a strange expression, like she understood more than she was saying. "Your family is interesting," she murmured before walking out. My phone was sitting untouched on the bedside table. When I opened it, I saw a file I didn't recognize, 59 minutes of audio from dinner. My cousin Kelly had been in the corner that night, 19 years old, twisting her hands. "I'm sorry," she kept repeating. "For what?" I asked. "Nothing. Just nothing." Later, alone at home, I stared at the recording. I'm not someone who records random moments, so if I had intentionally pressed record, it meant something serious was happening. I hit play. At first, it sounded normal. Grandma complaining about dry turkey, kids laughing, football on TV, typical holiday noise. Then, 5 minutes in, I heard my own voice. "Uncle Jeff, can we talk for a second?" "Can it wait? The game's on." "It's about Kelly." My tone was firm, and the television volume dropped immediately. "What about Kelly?" Uncle Jeff asked carefully. "She told me something about the lake house." A long silence followed. "The lake house? When did we go to a lake house?" 10 years ago, summer of 2015. Uncle Jeff laughed. 10 years? That was a decade ago. Why bring up ancient history? She was 9 years old, Uncle Jeff. The room went completely quiet. No forks, no movement. Aunt Sharon stepped in quickly. "What are you implying?" "Kelly, what is she implying?" Kelly's voice was barely audible. "Nothing. Nothing happened." My recorded voice continued. "Kelly finally told me about the swimming lessons when you two were alone." "That kid's always had a wild imagination," Uncle Jeff replied, his tone sharper now. "She showed me the pictures you took." Silence stretched for what felt like minutes. Then I heard a faint clink, glass touching glass. My voice shifted. "Why does the room feel weird? You feeling okay?" Uncle Jeff asked, false concern obvious. "My drink tastes. A chair scraped. You put something in my..." A loud thud. That was me hitting the floor. After that, chaos, gasps, chairs moving, then Kelly's shaking voice. "Should we call 911? Aunt Sharon answered coldly. "No one is calling anyone. She just had too much to drink." "But she doesn't drink," Kelly protested. "I said she had too much," Sharon snapped. "Jeff, help me move her." I heard dragging sounds, my unconscious body being shifted. "Put her on the couch. Make it look natural," Uncle Jeff said. "This is insane," Sharon whispered. "Get the camera. We need photos showing she's drunk." For 10 minutes, they posed me, taking pictures, laughing. "Put the turkey hat on her. Make her hold this beer." Kelly began crying. "This is wrong. After everything I've done for this family?" Uncle Jeff shot back. "You mean buying silence? A slap. Watch your mouth," he warned. "Jeff's right," Sharon added. "Kelly's always been dramatic, making up stories." "I have proof," Kelly sobbed. "That's enough," Sharon said. "Everyone memorize this. She fell down the stairs, been drinking all day." They repeated the lie for 5 straight minutes. Fell downstairs, drinking problem. We tried to help. In the background, Kelly begged, "Please call for help." No one listened, then sirens. Who called? Hide everything. Remember the story. The recording ended. That night, Kelly and I went directly to the police station. The detective listened to all 59 minutes and immediately made a call. "We need warrant teams now." By 6 the next morning, officers arrested everyone. Uncle Jeff at his penthouse, Grandma and Grandpa at their house, my parents at theirs, Aunt Sharon as well. At the station, the family turned on each other quickly. Sharon blamed Jeff. "He made us do it." Then Kelly's mother broke down. "The house? Oh God, the house." "What house?" the detective asked. "Jeff bought us our house right after that summer at the lake." Property records confirmed it. Every time Kelly tried to speak up, Jeff threatened to take the house back. "We have 3 other kids. Where would we live?" Her father admitted Jeff had held that over them for 10 years. The judge set Uncle Jeff's bail at $1 million. Restraining orders were issued for everyone. A week before trial, Kelly came to see me in tears. Suddenly, she said the recordings were misunderstood, that the family meant no harm. But she had fresh bruises on her neck and kept glancing toward my window, where the family lawyer sat in his car. She rushed through her retraction and asked to use my bathroom. After she left, I found a note upstairs. They have my daughter. Check the Ring camera from Tuesday. I read it 3 times, my hands shaking. The words were pressed hard into the paper, as if written in fear. This wasn't just legal pressure. A child was being used to silence her. I grabbed my phone and called Detective Goodwin. She answered on the second ring, calm and alert. I read the note word for word, my voice breaking when I mentioned Kelly's daughter. Her tone sharpened. She told me not to touch anything on my phone and said she would call back with instructions. I opened the Ring app but avoided playing the footage. I only took a screenshot of Tuesday's timestamp and closed it. 10 minutes later, she called again. A digital forensic specialist was on his way to secure the video properly. Fear twisted in my stomach at the thought of Kelly's daughter somewhere confused and scared. At 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. A man introduced himself as Rix Powell, the digital forensic specialist. He explained he would create a mirror copy of the footage using verification codes to prove it hadn't been altered. He worked carefully, connecting my phone to his laptop and documenting everything. It felt structured, official. While he was still copying the data, Detective Goodwin called again. CPS was being brought in for an emergency meeting. A caseworker named Hayden Chavez had been assigned. They were treating this as a potential child endangerment case. Relief and guilt hit me at the same time. Soon after, a victim advocate named Margot Arrington contacted me. She calmly walked me through safety planning, trusted neighbors, code words, a packed bag in case I needed to leave quickly. Her direct approach made the situation feel manageable instead of overwhelming. Then another update. Ada Alessandro Kim had been informed and was drafting emergency paperwork to modify Uncle Jeff's bail conditions. The case was now considered clear witness tampering. That night, sleep was impossible. I kept replaying the audio in my mind, the glass clinking, my voice slurring, the thud. The cold way they discussed staging everything, their laughter while posing me. At 3 a.m., I rewatched the Ring footage. Tuesday at 2:14 p.m., my aunt led Kelly's daughter by the hand toward a dark sedan. The family lawyer sat in the driver's seat. The child wore a pink jacket and carried a stuffed rabbit. She looked back as if unsure, but my aunt kept pulling her forward. 28 seconds from porch to departure. I captured screenshots clearly showing the lawyer's face. Evidence is evidence. At 7:30 a.m., an email arrived from Detective Goodwin, hospital records. The toxicology report confirmed a sedative in my blood. The dosage was high, dangerous. I could have stopped breathing. Seeing it in official medical language was unsettling, but validating. They hadn't just lied, they had drugged me. I forwarded the report to Margot and Alessandro immediately. He replied within minutes, saying it was crucial for the bail hearing. Margot called to check on me, reminding me to document everything and report any contact. At 9 a.m., Hayden Chavez, the CPS caseworker assigned to Kelly's daughter's case, called to introduce herself and explain the next steps. Case. Her tone is professional, yet considerate. She explains that she needs a sworn statement from me detailing exactly what I observed in the Ring footage from Tuesday. I tell her I can provide that immediately. Hayden asks me to go through the timestamps minute by minute. I open the video on my laptop so I can describe it accurately while we speak. I explain that at 2:14 p.m., my aunt walks onto my porch holding the little girl's hand. The child is wearing pink and carrying a stuffed rabbit. She appears confused and keeps looking up at my aunt as if asking questions. My aunt's posture seems tense and rushed. She pulls the girl forward instead of letting her walk naturally. At 2:14 and 30 seconds, they reach the curb. The lawyer is already seated in the driver's seat of a dark sedan. I provide Hayden with the license plate number that Hendricks extracted. The lawyer leans back and opens the rear door from inside. My aunt helps the child into the car and shuts the door. The vehicle pulls away at 2:14 and 58 seconds. The entire interaction lasts 44 seconds. Hayden takes detailed notes and asks precise questions about the child's facial expressions and body language. Did she seem frightened or simply confused? Did she resist entering the car or comply? Did I hear my aunt say anything in the audio? I answer carefully, sticking strictly to what the footage shows. Hayden explains that this level of detail strengthens CPS's emergency intervention case. Courts rely on specific timelines and documented observations, not assumptions. The more exact my account, the stronger their argument for protecting Kelly's daughter. After we end the call, Margot contacts me again. She suggests creating what she calls an evidence journal, a structured log documenting every contact attempt, threat, or suspicious event with exact dates and times. Judges often find documented patterns more persuasive than isolated incidents. Organized records also help prosecutors build a clear timeline of intimidation. Margot guides me in setting up a simple spreadsheet. Column 1, date and time. Column 2, description of the event. Column 3, supporting evidence such as screenshots or recordings. Column 4, who it was reported to. We begin entering everything since Thanksgiving, the dinner where I was drugged, waking up in the hospital, discovering the audio file, Kelly's visit with bruises on her neck, her note in my bathroom, and the Tuesday ring footage. Each incident gets its own entry with full details. The structured process gives me a small sense of control. Until now, everything has felt reactive and chaotic. With documentation in place, nothing can be overlooked. Margot reminds me to log even minor details, as they may become important later. At 10:30 a.m., Alessandro calls. He has scheduled an emergency bail modification hearing for 9 the next morning. He warns me that the defense will likely try to portray me as unstable or vindictive. They may suggest I am inventing allegations due to personal grievances. His honesty is difficult to hear, but it prepares me. He advises me to remain calm, factual, and unemotional. Stick to what you saw and heard. Let the evidence speak. I understand that my credibility may be challenged publicly, but I am not stepping back when a child's safety is involved. After the call, I contact my employer's HR department to request emergency leave for legal proceedings. The representative asks for documentation. I explain there is an active criminal case and that I am a witness. I estimate at least 2 weeks off, possibly longer. Afterward, I log this interaction in my evidence journal. Margot advised documenting everything related to the case, including professional impact. At noon, Hendricks calls with significant news. Using video enhancement tools, he extracted the license plate number from the ring footage. Detective Goodwin traced it to a vehicle registered to the family lawyer's firm. This establishes a direct link between the lawyer and the child's removal. 20 minutes later, Alessandro confirms he is adding this to his emergency motion as proof of coordinated witness intimidation. He explains that the lawyer's direct involvement goes beyond legal representation. It suggests active participation. Around 6 p.m., Hayden calls again. She has filed an emergency pickup order for Kelly's daughter with police assistance. The request is based on the ring footage, the documented coercion pattern, and Kelly's visible injuries. I feel both relief and concern. Relief that action is being taken. Concern that the family may react unpredictably. Hayden assures me that law enforcement will accompany any intervention and that my address has been flagged for additional patrols. I update my journal immediately. Emergency pickup order filed, 6:05 p.m. That night, sleep is difficult. I think about the upcoming hearing and the possibility of the defense questioning my stability. I eventually fall asleep near midnight and wake at 6 a.m. to my phone buzzing. An email arrived at 5:43 a.m. from the law office representing my family. The subject line reads, "Concerned Outreach." The message implies I am experiencing a mental health crisis and imagining conspiracies. It offers psychiatric resources and suggests my claims are damaging innocent people. I feel immediate anger, but remember Margot's advice. I forward the email directly to Alessandro without responding. Within 10 minutes, he replies that the message strengthens our argument. Attempting to undermine a witness's mental credibility before a hearing can be considered intimidation. He adds it to his motion. I log the email in my journal. At 8 a.m., Detective Goodwin calls with additional information. A neighbor was collecting mail on Tuesday when my aunt brought Kelly's daughter to my porch. She witnessed the exchange and provided a written statement describing the interaction as uncomfortable. According to her account, the child appeared hesitant and kept looking back before getting into the car. She is willing to testify if necessary. An independent witness significantly strengthens the case. I record this update in my journal with the timestamp 8:07 a.m. 20 minutes later, Alessandro informs me he is filing an expanded motion to close a loophole in the restraining orders. Currently, they prohibit direct contact, which allowed the family to use intermediaries such as the lawyer. The new motion will prohibit contact through agents or third parties of any kind. He lists the supporting evidence: the ring footage, the neighbor's statement, Kelly's coerced retraction with visible injuries, and the threatening email. He expects a ruling within 48 hours. I log the update at 9:15 a.m. At 10:30 a.m., I attend my first therapy appointment with John. The waiting room is quiet and neutral. Intake forms ask about my mental health history and reasons for seeking counseling. Writing about the Thanksgiving recording and the drugging is difficult. John invites me to explain everything in my own words. I manage until I describe hearing my own voice become slurred and confused, followed by the sound of my body hitting the floor and my family staging photos. I begin crying. He listens without interruption and later teaches me a grounding exercise using the 5 senses. 5 things I can see, 4 I can touch, 3 I can hear, 2 I can smell, 1 I can taste. Practicing it lowers my heart rate and helps me feel present. We schedule twice-weekly sessions focused on trauma processing and coping strategies for the legal process. I leave feeling emotionally exposed but cautiously hopeful. As I walk to my car, my phone buzzes. The text is from an unknown number, "I'm okay," followed by Kelly's name. Relief lasts only seconds. Kelly and I agreed she would include the word pumpkin in any message to confirm it was truly her. The text contains no code word. I immediately screenshot it and send it to Detective Goodwin and Margot, explaining that Kelly would never omit the agreed signal unless she was under pressure. Detective Goodwin responds within minutes, confirming she is flagging the text as potential coercion and adding it to the evidence file. That evening, she calls again. CPS and police attempted the emergency pickup at Kelly's mother's listed address, but the house was empty. Neighbors told officers they had not seen anyone there for at least 2 days. My fear rises sharply as I consider that the family may be moving Kelly and her daughter between locations to avoid law enforcement. At the same time, a focused determination settles in. Detective Goodwin reassures me that the search is expanding and that alerts have been issued for Kelly's mother's vehicle. The case is now being treated as potential child endangerment. I thank her and log the update in my evidence journal, despite my shaking hands. The next morning, Prix calls with new information. He traced the burner phone number that sent the suspicious text to a cell tower near a condo complex where one of my aunt's friends lives. Detective Goodwin is working to confirm the exact address and preparing another pickup attempt. This time, additional officers and CPS staff will be present to prevent the family from relocating again. The ability to track movements through technology gives me cautious hope that we are getting closer to finding Kelly and her daughter. I spend the rest of the morning on the phone with Margot, drafting my affidavit for the emergency hearing. She helps me refine the language so it remains factual and free of emotional wording that defense attorneys could challenge. We revise it multiple times, removing assumptions and focusing strictly on observable facts. By the 4th draft, the statement is clear and direct: what I saw, what Kelly disclosed, and what the documented evidence shows. Finishing it leaves me feeling less reactive and more purposeful. Before going to bed, I record a voice memo summarizing events since Kelly's bathroom visit. The threatening email, the neighbor's statement, Kelly's bruises and coerced retraction, the ring footage, the empty house, and the traced phone signal. Margot explained that contemporaneous records strengthen credibility because they show consistency over time. Speaking the timeline aloud brings a sense of structure and clarity. The bail modification hearing takes place the next morning. Entering the courtroom makes me uneasy. Uncle Jeff sits beside his attorney and avoids eye contact. His lawyer argues that the evidence is circumstantial and claims I am pursuing a personal vendetta against a supportive family. I remain composed. The judge listens closely. When Alessandro presents the ring footage and the neighbor's testimony, the judge leans forward. He also submits the threatening email and outlines the documented pattern of intimidation. After reviewing the materials, the judge rules that Uncle Jeff will wear a GPS ankle monitor and expands the no-contact order to include communication through third parties. It is progress, though limited. Later that afternoon, I see several family members posting indirect but clearly targeted messages on social media. My mother references mental illness and false accusations. My grandmother shares an article about attention-seeking behavior. Aunt Sharon posts a prayer request for confused family members. I systematically screenshot each post and send them to Alessandro with timestamps. He responds within the hour, stating he is preparing an addendum, citing cyber harassment and defamation. Documentation continues to be our strongest tool. That same afternoon, the emergency CPS hearing occurs before Judge Ramirez. Hayden presents the ring footage, the neighbor's statement, Kelly's injuries, and the broader pattern of coercion. Judge Ramirez authorizes locating services, including cell phone tracking and vehicle monitoring. Temporary emergency custody is granted to the state, allowing CPS to remove Kelly's daughter immediately once located. I remind myself that protective placement, though disruptive, is safer than remaining in a manipulative environment. That evening, Detective Goodwin calls with financial findings. Investigators traced a pattern of payments from Uncle Jeff to multiple family members beginning shortly after the summer of 2015. Kelly's mother received funds for a house down payment. My parents received smaller deposits over time. My grandparents and Aunt Sharon received recurring transfers. The documentation indicates sustained financial support coinciding with the original abuse timeline. The implication is clear. Silence was reinforced through money. The next morning, I discuss this development with John during therapy. He acknowledges the depth of betrayal and shifts the session toward practical boundary setting. He has me rehearse phrases for potential contact attempts. I am not discussing this. Contact my attorney. This conversation is over. At first, the statements feel rigid, but repetition makes them more natural. We role-play scenarios, phone calls, surprise visits, text messages, until the responses become automatic. The preparation reduces my anxiety and strengthens my sense of control. After the session, I check my phone and find a voicemail from Kelly's mother. She pleads for me to withdraw my statements and promises everything will resolve privately. I save the voicemail and forward it to Alessandro and Detective Goodwin. It becomes another documented instance of pressure. Later, Rix reports additional findings from photo metadata recovered from an old family cloud account. The timestamps confirm that staged photos from Thanksgiving were uploaded immediately after the incident, matching the timing captured in the audio recording. This metadata directly counters any claim that the photos were taken innocently or at a different time. That evening, Alessandro informs me that the defense is filing a motion to suppress the Thanksgiving audio recording, arguing hearsay and prejudice. He calmly explains his counterarguments, citing exceptions such as present sense impression and excited utterance. My statements during the recording qualify because they describe events as they occurred. The family's immediate reactions also fall under recognized exceptions. His confidence steadies me. I spend that evening at his office with Margot, practicing testimony. They simulate questioning from both sides. I learn to pause before answering and to state only what I personally know. Saying, "I don't know," when appropriate, is emphasized as more credible than speculating. Repetition transforms anxiety into familiarity. Early the next morning, Detective Goodwin reports an anonymous tip placing Kelly's daughter at a cousin's girlfriend's apartment. Though cautious, she coordinates another pickup with CPS and law enforcement. Hours later, she calls back. Kelly's daughter has been located. She is physically safe but shaken. Officers allowed her to bring her stuffed animal and blanket. She has been placed in temporary foster care with an experienced family. The confirmation that she is secure brings overwhelming relief. That afternoon, I receive another call from an unknown number. It is Kelly, speaking quietly from a bathroom. She explains that the family lawyer physically cornered her and forced her to write the retraction statement, threatening that she would never see her daughter again. I ask permission to record the call, and she agrees. She repeats her account on record. Alessandro responds quickly, adding formal witness tampering charges against Kelly's mother, Aunt Sharon, and the family lawyer. He explains that coordinated intimidation involving a child constitutes serious criminal conduct. In my next therapy session, I tell John about feeling guilty that Kelly's daughter endured fear because I spoke up. He gently reframes the timeline. The harm began years ago when abuse occurred and was concealed, not when I reported it. We practice breathing exercises 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds out, and progressive muscle relaxation. The techniques feel practical and grounding. 2 days later, Alessandro confirms the defense formally filed their motion to suppress the audio recording. He outlines his legal brief again, emphasizing established case law, supporting admissibility. His steady explanation helps manage my concern. The following morning, Detective Goodwin calls with unexpected news. A neighbor 2 doors down reviewed her doorbell camera footage from Thanksgiving night. The video shows my aunt and uncle carrying my unconscious body from their car to my porch around 11 p.m. They position me at the base of the steps and adjust my arm, shoulder while my uncle positioned my body as if arranging a mannequin. Watching myself being moved and staged while I was unconscious felt disturbing and unreal at the same time. My head tilted to the side as they shifted me, and my arms fell limply as they placed them. The footage clearly disproved their claim that I had simply consumed too much wine. Relief at having undeniable proof conflicted with the discomfort of seeing how vulnerable I had been. I immediately forwarded the video to Alessandro and Margot. That afternoon, a large packet arrived by courier from CPS. Hayden Chavez had filed a formal petition requesting supervised visitation only between Kelly and her daughter. I read the document carefully, despite the dense legal language. The petition outlined the decade-long pattern of pressure and threats. It detailed how Uncle Jeff financed Kelly's mother's house shortly after the lake house abuse. It documented Kelly's coerced retraction attempt and the bruises visible on her neck during her visit with me. It explained how the child had been used as leverage to maintain silence. Each section built the argument that unsupervised contact created ongoing risk. Reading the formal summary of what had happened reinforced my resolve. This was no longer only about accountability, it was about long-term safety for Kelly and her daughter. That evening, Margot called with encouraging news. She had connected Kelly with a shelter specializing in cases involving family-based coercion rather than overt physical violence. The shelter had experience addressing coordinated abuse by multiple relatives. Kelly was provided with an untraceable safety phone and access to legal aid attorneys for both custody and criminal matters. Licensed counselors familiar with complex trauma were available on site. For the first time, the possibility of Kelly building a stable, independent life felt realistic. The hope was cautious, but genuine. On Monday morning, I opened my work email and found an anonymous message questioning my mental health and accusing me of fabricating allegations. The intent was clearly to undermine my professional standing. An hour later, HR asked to meet. I gathered documentation, the criminal filings, restraining orders, and an official letter from Alessandro confirming my role as a victim and witness. The HR representative reviewed everything thoroughly and assured me the anonymous message would be treated as harassment. Walking out of that meeting, I felt relief replaced the tension I had carried all morning. That Wednesday, Alessandro called with the judge's ruling on the motion to suppress the Thanksgiving recording. I sat down on my kitchen floor as he read it aloud. The audio recording was deemed admissible. The judge ruled that my real-time statements and the family's immediate reactions qualified under hearsay exceptions. A limiting instruction would be given to the jury to clarify its purpose. The significance of this ruling was clear. Without the recording, it would have been my account against a coordinated family narrative. 2 days later, Detective Goodwin informed me that Uncle Jeff's GPS monitor recorded a boundary violation. He had driven slowly down the street where Kelly's shelter was located, despite having no legitimate reason to be there. Goodwin documented the incident with timestamps and coordinates and submitted it to the court. Even if minor, it demonstrated a willingness to test restrictions. The monitoring system ensured accountability. In my next therapy session, John prepared me for cross-examination. He explained that defense attorneys might attempt to mischaracterize my statements to confuse jurors. We practiced hostile questioning. He interrupted, rephrased, and challenged my answers until I could respond calmly and directly. The repetition built confidence, grounded in preparation rather than hope. That same week, Alessandro shared findings from a financial analyst. The house purchased for Kelly's mother was traced through layered paperwork to a shell company ultimately controlled by Uncle Jeff. The structure allowed him to maintain leverage. This was not an impulsive act, but a sustained strategy to preserve silence and control. 3 days later, Alessandro informed me that the defense was considering a plea deal on certain charges while contesting others. He outlined the practical implications. A plea would provide certainty and avoid trial testimony, but it could result in reduced penalties. He emphasized the balance between guaranteed accountability and the uncertainty of a jury verdict. The compromise was difficult to accept, yet I understood the reasoning. The following week, Kelly testified in a closed CPS hearing. I waited outside the courtroom. Afterward, Hayden told me Kelly described the lake house abuse at age 9 and the subsequent decade of threats involving the house and her daughter. The judge finalized supervised visitation with strict conditions, monitored settings, and no family contact. Kelly could begin rebuilding her relationship with her daughter safely. I then met with HR to arrange extended protected leave. With documentation from Alessandro and Detective Goodwin, the company approved leave under victim protection statutes, subject to communication requirements and potential reduced pay upon phased return. The financial impact was concerning, but Margot helped me apply for victim compensation funds. Plea negotiations intensified over the next 2 weeks. Alessandro insisted that any agreement include admission of specific facts and mandatory sex offender registration. The defense attempted to reduce charges and eliminate registration requirements. Each update felt procedural yet consequential. Although the final decision rested with the district attorney's office, I recognized that partial accountability was preferable to risking total acquittal. Drafting my victim impact statement took an entire weekend. I described waking in the hospital without memory of Thanksgiving dinner. I detailed discovering the audio recording, hearing my voice become confused, and the sound of my body hitting the floor. I explained the staged photographs and false statements to authorities. Writing it was emotionally demanding but purposeful. The court needed to understand the human impact behind the charges. The defense made a final attempt at intimidation by threatening to scrutinize my personal history at trial if a lenient plea was not accepted. Alessandro responded firmly, noting that credibility rested on evidence, medical records, recordings, witness testimony, not character attacks. I prepared myself for potential public scrutiny, reminding myself that truth outweighed discomfort. Judge Ramirez ultimately accepted the negotiated plea. Uncle Jeff pleaded guilty to felony witness tampering and possession of illicit images. Additional charges were placed on nolle prosequi status, meaning they could be reinstated if he violated the agreement. The resolution was imperfect, but it included formal admission of guilt. 2 weeks later, sentencing occurred. Judge Ramirez imposed consecutive sentences totaling 8 years in state prison, lifetime sex offender registration, and a permanent no-contact order with Kelly, her daughter, and me. Hearing the sentence delivered methodically provided a measure of closure. Registration ensured long-term transparency. Aunt Sharon later accepted a misdemeanor obstruction plea with mandatory counseling and a suspended sentence contingent on compliance. The family fractured publicly, with members blaming one another. As accusations circulated, I recognized that the cohesion had depended on secrecy. Without it, the structure collapsed. Kelly began trauma-informed counseling with a specialist recommended by Margot. She described feeling heard without judgment for the first time. The early stages of processing abuse that began at age 9 were difficult, but there was cautious optimism in her voice. The first supervised visitation between Kelly and her daughter took place at the shelter. A CPS supervisor observed while Kelly read her daughter's favorite book without pressure. Gradually, the child moved closer and sat beside her. The interaction was brief but meaningful. It marked the beginning of repair. In therapy, John helped me identify triggers: glass clinking, holiday gatherings, references to family dinners. We developed practical strategies, including grounding exercises and alternative traditions. The goal was not avoidance, but preparation. I left with a written list of triggers and coping methods posted at home for daily reinforcement. That same week, Alessandro filed civil asset forfeiture paperwork targeting the shell company controlling Kelly's mother's house. While complex legally, the immediate effect was stability for Kelly's younger siblings while preserving accountability for the adults involved. I upgraded my home security, new locks, additional cameras, and a comprehensive safety plan developed with Margot. Each scenario included clear steps and emergency contacts. Preparation replaced generalized fear with structured readiness. HR later approved my phased return to work, 3 half-days per week, increasing gradually. Supportive messages from colleagues reassured me that my professional reputation remained intact. Their belief and encouragement reinforced that accountability and integrity had prevailed over intimidation. A part of my routine that trauma had tried to take away. I circled my first day back at work on the calendar and felt something unfamiliar after months of stress. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I could return to being an ordinary person again. Not defined only as a victim or a witness, but as someone with a steady job and supportive coworkers who genuinely cared. 2 weeks after her first visit with her daughter, Kelly recorded her formal video statement at the police station. Detective Goodwin arranged the setup, placing Kelly in a comfortable chair rather than a standard interrogation room. I stayed in the hallway because the statement needed to be entirely hers, told in her own voice. The recording lasted about 40 minutes. When Kelly stepped out, her eyes were swollen from crying, yet her posture was firmer than it had been in months. Later, Detective Goodwin explained that Kelly had fully withdrawn her forced retraction. She confirmed everything she originally reported about our uncle's abuse at the lake house. She detailed the family's threats and the intimidation from the lawyer. She described watching them take her daughter and feeling pressured into lying. The video would be securely stored with the district attorney's office as protection. If our uncle attempted to appeal his conviction, or if the family tried future manipulation, the statement would stand as documented evidence. Kelly's voice in that recording sounded stronger than during her earlier whispered call from the bathroom. Seeing her regain that confidence, witnessing her hard-earned resilience, made me recognize how much progress she had made. She had been frightened and worn down with her child used against her, yet she endured it, and now she was asserting herself. I asked Detective Goodwin to drive me to the former lake house location. We went on a Saturday morning about 2 hours outside the city. I brought my camera because I wanted records, not reflections. The building had been demolished years earlier and sold to a developer who never constructed anything new. The property was now an empty lot with tall grass and a few visible foundation stones. I walked around the edges, taking photographs from several angles. Detective Goodwin remained near the car, allowing me privacy. I did not leave flowers or notes. I was not there to create a memorial. I came to confirm that the place where Kelly's trauma began a decade earlier was now just vacant land. It no longer held control over us. The lake house existed only in memory and in documented crimes, not as a physical space capable of causing harm. Standing there, looking at the unused property, I felt an internal shift. It was not forgiveness. I would never excuse what was done to Kelly, but it felt like acceptance that this chapter was nearing its end. The false story the family built around that place had collapsed. The truth had replaced it. Kelly was safe. Her daughter was safe. I took one final photograph and returned to Detective Goodwin's car. We drove back to the city in quiet understanding. 2 months after our uncle's sentencing, Kelly and her daughter moved into transitional housing together. It was a modest 2-bedroom apartment inside a supervised building where other families were also rebuilding. Kelly completed her job training and began working part-time at a grocery store. She started saving for a permanent home that would belong only to them. I helped them move their belongings and watched Kelly's daughter explore the apartment, deciding which bedroom she preferred. She remained reserved at times, but she smiled more often now. She called Kelly Mama again without hesitation. That night, I closed my evidence journal, knowing the immediate emergency had ended. My door locks were secure. The security cameras provided reassurance. I was sleeping through most nights, interrupted only occasionally by nightmares. My gradual return to work was progressing, and I had increased to 4 full days each week. Life was not flawless, and the emotional wounds from what my family had done were still healing. Therapy with John continued to help, though I understood the process might take years. Certain sounds still caused tension. Holidays with family would likely remain complicated. However, Kelly and her daughter were safe in their own home. Our uncle was serving his 8-year prison sentence and was registered as a sex offender for life. The relatives who assisted him were facing consequences as well. Each morning, I woke up knowing that speaking out had been the correct decision, even when it was frightening, even when members of my own family opposed me, even when I lost relationships that had existed for decades. Some causes justify significant loss, and protecting Kelly and her daughter was one of them. That concludes another important chapter documented here. If you're still watching, you likely appreciate serious topics delivered with a measured perspective. Consider subscribing, and we'll continue exploring challenging stories together next time.